Okay, the 86th Annual Academy Awards are coming up this Sunday, and Brandy, McDonnell, and I are really putting all our efforts into Oscar coverage this week. And let's talk about Best Picture, the big one, okay? Let's list them off first. American Hustle, Captain Phillips, Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, Her, Nebraska, Philomena, 12 Years a Slave, and The Wolf of Wall Street. Nine nominees this year. Brandy, what do you think? How's this going to shake out?
Well, I think that you're going to see the Best Picture race come down to two types of movies that Oscar voters really love. Mm-hmm. You're going to have, on one hand, the sweeping, historical, period piece epic, 12 Years a Slave, mm-hmm. and then you have sort of the sweeping, visually stunning, groundbreaking epic of Gravity.
Right.
And I think that those two are going to be really what it comes down to. It kind of shakes everything else out, and those two are the ones that it's really going to come down to. Now, the thing about 12 Years a Slave is that when we see historical epics get awarded Oscars, they tend to be more uplifting than 12 Years a Slave.
True.
Argo. I mean, it's harrowing, but mm-hmm. it's not harrowing like watching slavery for 2 hours.
Right.
You have things like The King's Speech. You know, those are the types of period epics that really...
Triumph of the human spirit.
Which is 12
right.
Years a Slave is,
mm-hmm.
in a certain sense. But there really isn't an emotional feel-good payoff until the very end, and it's bittersweet at best.
Right.
And so I think that will give a little bit of a hardship for 12 Years a Slave in terms of capturing that segment of the Oscar vote that really wants to give that period piece mm-hmm. Oscar. I think you're going to see Gravity, which seems to have all the momentum, come up with the Oscar. I think it's sort of the perfect combination of immersive filmmaking that's really could only have been done in 2014, as we've talked mm-hmm. about 2013. It's a movie of its time, but it's also great storytelling.
Yes. What
have we talked about? We've talked about movies that are too long, that have a backstory for every character. This is very stripped down, mm-hmm. very streamlined filmmaking to where you still know these characters and feel these characters, but there's not a lot of exposition to this film. It's very streamlined.
Right.
So that's why it was my favorite film, and that's why I think it'll be Oscars.
You know, when I saw 12 Years a Slave, I thought, you know, and I mentioned this with Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance as well. I thought, okay, well, it's over. We can all go home. 12 Years a Slave wins, and then everything else happened. I mean, and I'm not saying that all of these other films are better than it. It's just that the competition got really strong, really fast in this category. I don't think Wolf of Wall Street has a chance. I don't, you know, like we've talked about before, not Scorsese's best work. You know, and we can say
too long, too polarizing.
We can say this about other films in the category. Her will not win because it doesn't have a matching director nomination for Spike Jonze. I think that 12 Years a Slave, something interesting that you said. I've had conversations with a lot of people who say, and I don't want to embarrass any of the people I know, but they said, wow, that was really rough. And I go, yeah, but it's about slavery. What did you expect?
Should be rough.
And
it shouldn't be easy.
And it was directed by Steve McQueen, who does not pull punches. No. But I think it could be a problem for it. I think that intensity, that difficulty in watching, can work against a movie when it comes to the Academy voters. And if you look at the demographics of them, a lot of them, they've been in the business for 50 years and they're not looking to be in pain for a few hours, which is what 12 Years a Slave does extraordinarily. It makes you feel those characters, but it's a hard thing to watch.
Well, I think that's why we see Steve McQueen just now getting some Oscar attention, because right. his previous two films are, if anything, harder to watch than this one. I mean, in terms of just sheer intensity. Mm-hmm. There's no period sweep to Shame or Hunger. I mean, right. They're movies that are right there in your face, and they're very intensely unpleasant to watch. And so
Gravity is unpleasant at times.
At times.
And I mean, I remember watching it, and you know, it sounds like a cliche, but gripping my seat. But I normally don't grip my seat. I'm usually pretty relaxed when I'm watching a movie. I was freaking out during that film.
Definitely.
And I will say this: you talked about the compactness of the storytelling. Gravity comes in at exactly 90 minutes.
I know, it's like an Oscar miracle.
And take all the time you need to tell a story, but a lot of people are taking too much these days. Alfonso Cuarón took exactly the amount of time. There is not a wasted moment in Gravity. It is as close as you can get in an objective way to perfect filmmaking.
Right. And I think that there's this sort of misconception now that you have to have 2 hours or 2.5 hours to tell everybody everything they need to know about the character and the story and the place and the time and the setting, and talk about blowing up that misconception that if we're going to tell big stories in the modern day filmmaking language, that we have to have all of this time period. Because I went into that movie and I felt like when I left it, I knew everything I needed to know about those characters and their situation to have a satisfying, more than satisfying filmmaking experience. I mean, movie-going experience. I just don't think that any more background needed to be given. And we saw movies. I mean, that's a big complaint of Wolf of Wall Street, is that at what point do you cross the line from storytelling into almost becoming like an accomplice to some of this stuff.
Yes.
I mean, and so I think that it's very emblematic, I think, of this year's and this time period sort of filmmaking, in that, hey, 90 minutes, that's all I need to tell a story that is groundbreaking in terms of the visuals. I mean, the way he is able to pull you into space, into that story, and make you really feel how forbidding it is. I mean, how many space movies have we seen? How many of them were you really scared?
Exactly.
Because space is scary.
And this is about the individuals. It's not about effects, although the effects do their job, but it's in the service of these characters, and really, indeed, one character.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, Sandra Bullock's character is really the only one that you spend a lot of time with. But that being said, if they had nominated George Clooney for Best Supporting Actor, I would have been fine with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, because he does a great performance, and you feel like you know that guy. I mean, you know that he's a veteran astronaut. Nobody has to sit there and give you his credentials. I mean, nobody gives you her credentials. You're simply presented these people. The dialogue is on point to where it gives you all of the information you need, and then they shoot you out into space where space tries to kill you.
Right. Yes, exactly. Gravity wins.
I think Gravity wins. I'm glad, because it was my best picture of 2013. So.
Gravity wins. Okay, that's. I mean, yeah, send your letters. Okay, if we're wrong, you let us know.
Do people send letters still?
Emails.
Emails. Okay, fine. Email. Facebook us.
Facebook us. Take us down on Twitter. Do whatever you want. But we are going to be talking about this stuff all week. We're going to be tweeting about it. We're going to be blogging it. We're going to do live chats, and so tune in at 6.
Before, during, after Oscar, we got it all covered.
Covering it all. Tune in at 6 p.m. on Sunday on ABC, and come to NewsOK.com for all your Oscar needs.